Remember that episode of Futurama where Fry finds out his 93 cents in a savings account turned into $4.3 billion due to 1,000 years of compounding? Now, ignoring the fact that his bank kept his account for 1,000 years despite only having 93 cents in it, the rest of the episode shows Fry splurging his newfound wealth, like buying a can of anchovies for $50 million. But would Fry really be rich? For those who haven't seen Futurama, it follows the story of Fry, a pizza delivery boy from 1999 who ends up being frozen in a cryogenic chamber for 1,000 years, waking up in the year 3000. Now, unless at some point in those 1,000 years the US dollar went back to the gold standard, that $4.3 billion isn't going to have the same buying power as it does today. Inflation reduces the value of the dollar over time. If we assume the Fed is able to maintain its target inflation rate of 2%, we can discount the $4.3 billion to its present value, which would be $17.65. Now sure, that is a 1,000+% return from 93 cents, but it still isn't that much. This is because the 2.25% is what we call a nominal return. But our actual return in terms of value or real return is 0.25%. Returns need to be inflation adjusted to understand what it would be really worth in terms of purchasing power. Now, if the inflation rate was higher than 2.25%, the value of this $4.3 billion would be lower than having 93 cents in 1999. Fry is also ignoring taxes. Surely the government would want its share of this windfall. Realistically speaking, Fry wouldn't owe any taxes since tax brackets are adjusted for inflation. Fry would fall well below the standard deduction and not be liable to pay any income taxes. But just to understand how taxes would affect his return, let's assume the tax brackets are the same as today for New York. Fry would owe about $2.05 billion in state and federal income taxes. This means that Fry would make an after-tax income of about $2.23 billion, and adjusted for inflation would be equal to $9.19 in 2025. But we're also making quite an unrealistic assumption here. The tax is paid only at the end of 1,000 years. If Fry wasn't cryogenically frozen, he would need to pay them annually. The assumption we made earlier was that Fry was able to defer taxes till the year 3000. If he paid taxes annually, at the end of 1,000 years, Fry would have a mere $136 million, which adjusted for inflation would leave Fry worse than before, with only the equivalent of 56 cents in 2025. This is because our assumption of tax brackets not being adjusted for inflation results in Fry's after-tax returns being below inflation over the long term. We can also see the massive advantage we have in our returns by simply being able to defer tax instead of paying it annually. This is because annual tax reduces the money invested, which reduces the benefits of compounding. We also see how the number of compounding periods affect our rate of return. Now, 1,000 years seems far-fetched for any real-world scenario, but we do come across similar scenarios when the compounding period is more frequent. For example, with credit cards, the penalty interest may compound monthly. In this case, we can divide the APR rate by 12 and compound it for as many months as required. This would give the effective annual rate, which is likely higher than the stated APR. If there is one thing we can take away from this episode, it would be the power of compounding. Anyone can become a billionaire with only 93 cents in your pocket. It's just the first couple hundred years that are the hardest.
Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, click that like button and subscribe for more videos on financial concepts.